Hello, dear friends. With us is the Kabbalist, Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello, all. And so, the Book of Prophets, the secrets of the eternal book, Yoshua ben Nun, chapter 21. All in all, there are only 24 chapters. We're approaching the end of the book. And in the 21st chapter, it explains what was given to the Levites. They were asked to receive cities to live in. And it says that all the cities of the Levites in the midst of the possession, that some of them received 10, 12, 15, one city, etc., etc. And it says all the cities of the Levites in the midst of the possession of the children of Israel were 48 cities with the open land around them. So first of all, who are the Levites inside of me? And to be a Levite, is it a responsibility or a privilege? Dr. Laitman, these things are, it's a privilege and a responsibility. These things are interconnected. And they are working in the field, in the nation, in society, with the crowd. They enlighten the people, educate them, explain to them, meaning it is at a transitional, it is a gateway between the Cohens and the masses. So who are the Cohens and who are the Levites? Dr. Laitman, the Cohens are the barriers of the upper knowledge that are they're not connected to the masses, to the people. It's like the academy. Now, besides the academy, there are different institutions, different facilities, different bodies that educate people. These are the Levites, the teachers for the masses. Simeon. So someone makes the laws and someone passes them on. Dr. Laitman, yeah, I can say that. Simeon. So what are the Cohens and Levites inside of us? Dr. Laitman, these are desires that in our day-to-day life show us who we have to be. So all in all, that we will become like the Creator. Simeon. In order to reach equivalence of form with them. So, is it a responsibility to be a Levite? Dr. Laitman, of course. Not just anyone's worthy of this position, of this profession. It's not just that you were born to a Levite and therefore you're a Levite. Simeon, can you become a Levite? This desire, can you accumulate it somehow inside yourself to turn from a non-Levite to a Levite? Dr. Laitman, no, it's not a childish question. It's a very non-simple question. They were actually divided into these groups of Cohens, Levites, and the nation to begin with. And therefore, practically, there were such periods in which it was possible to become a Levite, that a simple Israelite could become a Levite, but practically it all came down from Levite to Levite. And neither a Cohen nor a Levite can, practically there are none among the common people. And in our world today, there are Cohens, there are Levites. What does it say, Dr. Laitman? It came to us from those times. Simeon, but they were Cohens were they Cohens back then? They're forefathers, those that are Cohens now? Dr. Laitman, I can't say. Simeon, many are proud about it. I'm a Cohen. Dr. Laitman, yeah, I saw that. I know it. But I don't think that back then to be a Levite or a Cohen was really respectable because it showed a person's inner essence. It's like a professor that he has achieved a certain degree of knowledge. Simeon, if he can be a teacher. Dr. Laitman, right, in his inner corrections, he's achieved a certain degree. And today, a Cohen is a Cohen. Simeon, Okay, everything's clear now. The question is, what does it mean where they can't be owners of property, but, they can own other things? Dr. Leichman, they didn't have the right to have any property of their own, but they could live only off teaching the population, serving the people, and the people paid them for it, the masses. So it means that this is their city, that they can teach here, Dr. Leitman, right? And therefore the entire territory of the government was divided into these areas. Simeon, so to own the land, it means to work with a desire all the time, Dr. Leitman. They were already above it. It's not that they themselves did it, but they taught. Simeon. And when you have your own property, Dr. Leitman, it's not cultivating land. Simeon, the main thing is they don't have the right to cultivate land. Dr. Leitman, they're above it, beyond it. Simeon. Okay, and there it says, and the Lord gave them rest from about according to all that he swore to their fathers, and no man of all their enemies stood before them. The Lord delivered all their enemies into their hand. Not a thing was lacking from all the good things that the Lord spoke to the house of Israel. All came to pass. What does it mean that the Creator gives rest? What rest can Israelites have? Dr. Leighton, sorry. After they were corrected, then on that level, there's nothing left for them to correct. They continue existing on the level that they have attained, and this is their achievement. That's one thing. Another thing is that I'd say they're not standing still. It seems to us that they did something and that's it. And rest. No rest. It's simply that there are no further degrees yet. But to hold on to these degrees, it means to broaden the usage of your ego into bestowal and love from the level that you've achieved, and to keep on going, meaning it's the work isn't that small. It's not just rest. It's work. So he's in the work, they're in the work all the time, Dr. Leighton. Yeah, well, roughly said, they achieved the degree of Binah, even though there are many degrees there, and they stop. Simeon, and rest, Dr. Leighton. There is no rest, nowhere. And the whole of creation, there's no rest. And the desire is developing all the time, becoming revealed, and a person needs to gradually work with this desire to bring it to similarity with the Creator. And so maybe it's not moving that much up, but more in width, chasadim, and not chokhmah. But actually, this is tremendous necessary work, and this is what they were engaged in. Simeon, we know what happens later, the shattering, the destruction, and how it is until now. Do you ever feel a state of rest? Just simple rest. I don't know. When? Well, I don't know. Sometime that you're in rest, a restful state. Do you have something like that? Meaning I did everything, or I did it the way I should have. I just want to simply understand it. Or there's all the time, Dr. Laitman, until the end of correction, I can't imagine how could there be rest. I don't know. It simply does not exist in nature. I don't know what's next. Because after the complete and final correction begins such degrees, such crazy work, such peaks, heights, that really... But I don't think that a person that is already rising to such degrees, he's asking about rest. No such question. You mean, give me more work, or let me work. It's like, I'm 85, give me work to do. Something. That was amazing. So this state that you're demanding more work. Okay, now, it says here that all the good things that the Creator promised them, they received everything. What were those good words, Dr. Laitman? That, first of all, everything that they get, the land and everything that comes with it, and that the Creator is with them, and peace and everything, it is all for them. It's in their hands. They are already turning all of their desires, the land, meaning Eretz, in Hebrew, land, from the word ratzon, desire. They are turning their desires into bestow, connection, love, cultivating the land, so to speak. Each sitting on his part of the desire. It can't be any other way, because he got it from the shattering of Adam, of the general soul, and therefore everyone knows what he needs to do, what part to correct, how to be connected to others, so that eventually they will come to one system called Adam, one common system. So here everything works according to very clear rules, Simeon. So these good words were said by the Creator, Dr. Laitman. Yes, and they know what they have to do, the Kohens and the Levites. It is all explained to them, and patiently, and then new degrees are revealed to everyone. And even though that there is a greater and greater ego that's becoming revealed, but nonetheless, they are working with it successfully, with the land, so to speak, these broken desires, Simeon. And this is how it's related to man himself. Dr. Laitman, I'm talking about man, about what goes on inside of him. His connection with his correction, his relation, corrected attitude toward others. This is what everyone works on, Simeon. In what case everything that was promised comes true, Dr. Laitman? In any case, there's no such thing that it won't come true, only by way of suffering or by way of in a good, nice, serious way of work. Simeon, so one way or another, Dr. Laitman, everything has to be achieved, the lesson has to be learned. But how do you carry this out in a short and good way, or in a long way of suffering, short or long? Okay, but one way or another, you'll come to that, to what it says, Dr. Laitman, inevitable. Simeon, this is how the 21st chapter ends. We're moving on to the 22nd, where it explains about how Joshua, he praises these 2.5 tribes that come back, that are beyond the Jordan, and he praises them for not leaving their brothers at war, that they fought with everyone, even though that their property is there beyond the Jordan. And he says, go to your tents and keep the Torah and commandments. Joshua set them free and told them, you're coming back to your tents with great property. with much wealthier dwellings and with very much cattle, with silver, gold, and with copper, and with iron, and with very many garments. Divide the spoil of your enemies with your brothers. What is it all for, Dr. Laitman? Well, the spoils, it's not something corporeal, of course. It means that those corrected qualities that they have acquired in the land of Israel, they need to broaden it also to include those qualities that they will discover on the other side of the Jordan, and there's a big difference. There is the ability to live in Israel. There is the ability to live in any part of the world, meaning in desire. It's not a country. It's not somewhere on earth. So these tribes, they're special according to their designation, says Simeon, Dr. Laitman, only according to their designation, according to their structure, their opportunities, the opportunity that they have to correct. Practically, these are those, we can put it this way, roughly said, that these are those same desires that want to become corrected and to attain the Creator, only in them there's an additional weight because they're not living in the land of Israel. Dr. Laitman, they're working with egoistic desires that used to be in the land of Israel. They corrected them in themselves with the help of all other nations, with the rest of the nation. Simeon, they're spoiled. Dr. Laitman, yes, and now they're going to correct them under new conditions, and the new conditions are actually, it's not that they're uncomfortable, they need to be uncomfortable, but they need to prepare the nation of Israel to a point where sometime these actions and corrections of theirs, they will be able to bring the entire world to correction this way. Simeon, it's like a transitional phase. Dr. Laitman, I wouldn't say that it's like a buffer, but on the other hand, yes. Simeon, so it's not just so that these were the first tribes to separate, to part. When Syria came, then the first 2.5 tribes, they were the first 2.5 tribes to disappear. No one knows where they are. So it's not just so they're the first to dissolve in the world, so to speak. Dr. Laitman, yeah, they had special work to do, a special task, and they immediately took it upon themselves. And Moses told them then that, please, you feel that this is yours, but only after the entire nation will conquer the whole of Israel. Then you too will receive yours. Simeon, so it's a kind of correction if that which is already ready-made in Israel and it's taken there for work, it has to be cultivated there too. Dr. Laitman, yeah, it's also a part, but it's an interesting part nonetheless that exists beyond the boundaries, the borders of Israel, even though that here we see a very interesting quality. We'll talk about it sometime. That nonetheless, working on correcting the desire on the territory of Israel, what's called the inner part of Israel, and outside of it, these are two different things, Simeon. And it's interesting gold, the gradation, gold, copper, iron, garments, and in corporeality it's clear, but in spirituality, Dr. Lakeman, different desires that we have to correct this way and bring them to a state where they will belong to you, to man that will be able to use these desires only for bestowal. Simeon, and you can use all of these gold, silver, these things for bestowal? Dr. Lakeman, this is what these desires appear for. Otherwise, what's the point of conquering anything then? Otherwise, what are these kinds of robbers, looters that came out of Egypt and went to rob this land? People were living here peacefully, happily. What are you doing? Simeon, yeah, they came, killed them, took the loot, and left. Okay, so it's working with these desires inside of us. This is what is all done for, meaning that we, in this world, we live, we try to accumulate these riches, but the real work is that these riches are given to us in order to elevate others. Dr. Lakeman, yeah, we see the world in our egoistic qualities. What can you do? Simeon, yeah, to accumulate more gold and everything. And these 2.5 tribes, they leave, they come to the other side of Jordan and the land of Canaan, and there they build a great big altar that you can see from afar, and by that they make some terrible mistake, and then it says, and when the children of Israel heard of it, the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled at Shiloh to go up to war against them. And they said, thus said the whole congregation of the Lord, what treachery is this that you have committed against the God of Israel, to turn away this day from following the Lord? In that you have built an altar that you might rebel this day against the Lord. And the thing pleased the children of Israel, and the children of Israel blessed God. And okay, so before that, there was this altar that was made there. Later on, it was taken to Jerusalem, and therefore building another altar was like breaching the unity of the nation. It's a demonstration that the Jews beyond the Jordan are leaving the nation of Israel and leaving the Torah and everything, and it was more important to punish them than to continue conquering the land. So my question is, first of all, about the importance of the altar. And what is the altar inside of us, Dr. Lakeman? An altar inside of us is that point of connection from which we raise all of our pleas to the Creator. It's not that you have some kind of barbecue standing there where we burn something, that we do something, make something on. It's not that. Just like the temple and everything else. These are all completely different functions than it might seem to a person, and therefore, the main thing for them was to limit those places, or if one could say thoughts, of the burnt offerings, meaning what am I doing it for? This all can come only from just one place that unites the entire nation completely. And therefore, as it says there allegorically, that they were really stunned by it, and therefore they rebelled against it. So the altar has to be of all the 12 tribes inside of us, Dr. Lakeman. The altar has to be one for the entire world, meaning it has to be a point of connection of all the desires of people, with all the intentions toward the Creator, united together. Simeon, and in the meantime, they have these 12 tribes with their altar. Dr. Lakeman, yeah, it has to remain in Shiloh. the capital back then. Simeon, it was like the breaching of unity was worse than everything. It was like they fought together like brothers, but they breached the unity a bit, and they're ready to kill them. These 2.5 tribes, they're ready to kill them. Dr. Lightman, well, not physically, but Simeon. So before that, there were messengers sent to Jordan in order to find out what was the intention of these 2.5 tribes. Why did they build this altar? And they were startled, these 2.5 tribes. They said that we know that if we breach our covenant with the Creator, then you will not help us then. And they said that they were afraid that Jordan over time might become a border that will separate the nation, and the 10 tribes on that side of the Jordan will want to deprive these 2.5 tribes of what they have. And just in order to show that they're one nation, these 2.5 tribes, they build an altar. So it says that it's like a testimony, an oath between us that we can serve the Lord, that they're Jews beyond the Jordan, and they also have part in the work. Why is it all the time like thinking about what's going to happen, what's Dr. Light? No, it's about the interconnections between all the desires of the broken soul of Adam. And for them, the main thing is that they will be connected together, because only then the particular personal correction of each of them will influence all the others, all the other general desires. And this is what the correction is about, Simeon. So they're not thinking about themselves, but about the general correction. Dr. Light, no, of course, it's all in the name of the general correction of the one soul, and therefore any division or it's something terrible, Simeon. And so that's why you're talking about it, that the only thing that the nation needs to do is to want to come to unity. It's all based on the same thing. You can repeat these words 1,000 times. This is the main thing that needs to be done, the only thing. Okay, so we see that it comes from back then, Dr. Lightman. Therefore, the most important thing is to come to a single thought, opinion, creator, under which all can unite and destroy all the separating, everything that separates the boundaries, the parties, denominations, that there will be nothing that separates between people from going toward the same goal, that one goal, and each, out of his own soul, tries to do it in the most effective way to the benefit of everyone else. Simeon, so that's one altar, one temple, that's its name. We have just a bit left, and the thing pleased the children of Israel, the 10 tribes, and the messengers came back and told it all to the nation, and the children of Israel blessed God, and they did not intend to go up against them in battle to destroy the land in which the children of Reuben and God dwelt, and the children of Reuben and the children of God called the altar, for it is a witness between us that the Lord is good, meaning these 2.5 tribes that wanted to live beyond the Jordan, that we see that it's impossible. They will be the first to fall off. They will be the first that will go into exile. So my question is it possible to see in advance where will the unity be breached? Can you anticipate it, Dr. Lightman? In moving toward what goal? Of course. Therefore, what's going on today in Israeli society, it's a complete disintegration of the liberalism, or however you call it, freedom. It's simply murder for any nation, all the more for the Jewish one. Simeon, so it was possible to see in advance that that's what's going to happen. Dr. Latham, undoubtedly. Therefore, any parting, any act that parts, divides the nation into parts, you can talk however much you want to, that that's how it should be, it's contemporary, it's current. You know, that there are many denominations, currents, and contemporary society, that it's a developed society. It's not a developed society. It's what's developed as the rotting egoism. Simeon. So they came, started building a government here. You can already say, Dr. Lakeman, this entire government is based on war, and it was governed only by war. And to this day, it's governed by internal wars within the nation of Israel, that every political member thinks about how to overpower the others, overcome them, defeat them, everyone else. If not for the help from above, then this government wouldn't exist anymore. Simeon. So going back to the 10 tribes, the 10 tribes were lost. They dissolved in the world. Do they exist? Do the 10 tribes exist? What does it mean that they dissolved, Dr. Lakeman? Nothing's lost, and nothing new appears. Meaning, in some form, everything enters nature, and when necessary, it is revealed once again. Simeon, waiting for its hour, Dr. Lakeman. Yeah, like the coronavirus and other ones that might become revealed. It is all inside of nature. There's nothing new. Everything depends on the measure to which we will allow it to appear or not. Simeon, what does it mean, the 12 tribes inside of us? Dr. Lakeman, it's man's soul. Common soul that's divided into 4 parts. Bchina, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and Daled, analogical to Kedochma, Bina, Zaran, Pin, and Malchut, and in each of them 3 lines. So 3 times 4, 12. 4 times 3, 12. But the main thing is that they will all be united around one goal, each from his side, with his individuality, says Simeon. So the question is, why was it back then not possible to build the temple? They came, they built the temple. Dr. Lakeman, what do you mean to build? To take rocks and build it, stones. Better not build it. Better not. It's all just like, as it says, it's trickery. That there is something that unites, that's built, that that's how it exists, that we're sitting behind the walls of this temple and we adjourn and everything's fine. Simeon, so you're saying that it would be better not to build it in stone at all. Dr. Lakeman, there was no talk about it at all. Simeon, for there to be some kind of physical symbol, Dr. Lakeman, right? And there were many who opposed it. But as always, those who understand the least, they're the strongest in our corporeal world. Simeon, because the nation wants, Dr. Lakeman, the nation needs some kind of toy. So you made a toy, take it. But that's all you have. You've replaced the spiritual goal for a wall. Simeon, you know what I remember? It says that when Moses disappeared, the nation said, give us, and Aaron made the golden calf. Dr. Lakeman, same, yeah. Well, okay, we completed this chapter. If you can wrap it up, kind of. Imagine, like today, you need to go out to the nation and tell them something, show them something, implement something, present some kind of goal to them. And for you, it is all purely spiritual, based on bestowal. And here, you're showing them a great palace, fortress, even though it was all very small, really. And here, there are burnt offerings, and here, the Levites are praying, the Cohens are doing their work, and all these things. It's all very clear. All very clear. Like for little children, for grown-ups too. And everything's so glorious. You can say, yeah, this is the real thing, but it's not the real thing, Dr. Laitman. But a person can fight for it, for these symbols. Simeon, how else to approach a person's heart? How to disseminate this knowledge of ours? Dr. Laitman, precisely by correcting the heart. When you start determining all these qualities inside the heart, and to determine what's holy and what's not. Simeon, and the nation will understand eventually if you all the time push in this direction. Dr. Laitman, depends on how they rise above themselves, but in no other way. When they will understand that there's nothing on this land, in this land, but that it's all only, so to speak, an imaginary world, and all the work needs to be only in the desire to unite, to connect. Only the different qualities and different states, degrees of our correction, they present the spiritual part, the physical part of the spiritual world. Simeon, and then the nation will want or to live that way or not, Dr. Laitman, depends on how they will be lifted. And what's interesting is that the closer we'll come to this idea, to its implementation, the more we'll feel, the further away from it we will feel ourselves. As close, that far. And therefore no one will, be able to imagine that it might happen. Simeon, so the exit is in the darkest night, the Exodus. Thank you.